On this edition of Freedom Journey Rock, with the surge of forces now over, we look at the results and how coalition soldiers are putting a friendly focus to counterinsurgency. These stories and more in today's FJI. Hello, I'm Air Force Sergeant Braden Smith. Welcome to this edition of Freedom Journey Rock. In July, the surge of forces officially came to an end. Petty Officer Aaron Hebner brings us a special report with an in-depth look on what the surge was and the effect it had on Iraq.
Back in 2006, violence levels in Iraq were at their highest point since the beginning of the war in 2003. Iraq was being torn apart by sectarian violence, and news media around the world was saying that Iraq was in a state of civil war. In January of 2007, President Bush announced that he would be sending more troops to Iraq to secure the situation.
The 20,000 additional troops would make up 5 brigades, and most of them would be deployed to Baghdad, because over 80% of the attacks in Iraq were happening within 30 miles of the capital. The additional troops would soon become known as the Surge. But the Surge wasn't just more troops, it also involved changing the way we were fighting the war.
We also implemented the counterinsurgency doctrine and moved our forces into the villages and towns with our Iraqi security force partners. The main focus was to stem the violence and to secure the population.
Coalition forces changed their strategy and began to work closely with the Iraqi security forces and the Iraqi people. But another key to the success of the surge was the awakening movement.
Sheikhs no longer wanted to assist al-Qaeda, and they wanted to start their life anew. And so that's a huge an obvious indicator that there's success in the efforts of our troops and our Marines throughout the combat zone.
Iraqis showed up in force at recruiting drives for what would become the Sons of Iraq, who served much like a neighborhood watch, securing their own villages. And with the combined efforts of the coalition forces, the Iraqi security forces, and the Sons of Iraq, attacks throughout Iraq were reduced by 70% by July of 2008, when the last surge brigade completed its tour of duty and returned home.
And because of they achieved the conditions that we wanted them to achieve, the population secure, the Iraqi security force has increased their capacity and their capability, and the Iraqi people feel secure in their homes. Then that allowed us to end what is called the surge, but to continue our campaign.
So the surge is now officially over, and in order to maintain the success made by surge forces with fewer American troops, top commanders in Iraq are saying that Iraqi security forces will play a key role in securing the country. And so far, Iraqi security forces have continued to meet the challenges.
What we've seen with the Iraqi Army and the Iraqi security forces is a continuing growth and development. When the Prime Minister moved his forces down to Basra, it signaled several things that a year or two ago just simply weren't here. First of all, it signaled his resolve to solve the problems for his people. Secondly, it signaled that when he directed his army to go, and they went, that they now had the capability and the leadership to move within their country towards a problem area. And that was a big thing. It signaled to the people as they arrived that they weren't going to be allowed to misbehave.
And when the criminals and terrorists are kept at bay, it allows for Iraqis to go about their lives and do the simple things that allow for rehabilitation.
If you can flow the water, then you can grow the plants. If you can grow the produce, then you can fill the market. If the market's safe, the people will come to the market. If they exchange goods, the economy thrives. If the economy thrives, the town thrives. If the town thrives, education's there. If education's there, so it sounds simple and basic, and in many ways it is. But if that chain is broken, then you can't get where you want to go.
In order for that chain not to be broken, Brigadier General Ferreter outlined 3 steps that coalition forces need to do.
Step 1 is keep the population secure. Step 2 is assist the Iraqi security forces. And step 3 is assist the government to install or reinstall those basics of services for life and support of their own population.
In the post-surge era in Iraq, violence remains at the lowest level in 4 years. If you look about Baghdad, you'll see families in the parks customers in the markets, and people living their lives with a sense of normalcy. Coalition forces will continue to support Iraqi security forces as they take the lead on maintaining and improving the security in Iraq. Petty Officer Aaron Hebner, Baghdad.
Coming up, coalition soldiers with a new method to counterinsurgency.
Here's your raid report. Iraqi Army soldiers found several weapons caches containing rocket and mortar rounds in Baghdad. They also detained 8 terrorist suspects. In ARMY.MIL, a tip from a local citizen led coalition forces to a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device. An explosive ordnance disposal team responded and conducted a controlled detonation on the vehicle. Iraqi security forces and coalition soldiers discovered multiple munitions caches in Baghdad. The caches contained mortar rounds and materials used to manufacture improvised explosive devices. During operations in north and central Iraq, coalition forces killed 2 armed terrorists. They also detained 14 suspected terrorists wanted for various attacks on Iraqis and security forces. And that's your raid report. I'm Senior Airman Michael Williams.
Here are the latest Operation Iraqi Freedom headlines. A large international media contingent closely followed Iraq's Olympic team in Beijing because of interest in the challenges Iraqis overcame to be part of the Games. According to Iraq's oil minister, Iraq is resuming oil extraction in Nasiriyah after a 20-year stoppage. The ministry says it hopes production will reach 100,000 barrels a day from this field. Prime Minister Maliki approved a program to fly Iraqi citizens wishing to return home from Egypt for free. The first flight is scheduled to depart Monday with 250 passengers. Georgia's president is redeploying the brigade it has in Iraq. The 2,000 Georgian troops are the 3rd largest contingent of coalition forces in Iraq. Those are your headlines from around the region. I'm Airman First Class Priscilla Christensen.
We are at war. Are you doing all you can? From war fighting to logistics, effective internal controls achieve results. Check it. What gets checked gets done.
As counterinsurgency operations continue, coalition soldiers are doing their part by offering a friendly hand to the people of Iraq. Specialist Justin Kuhl takes us to Patrol Base Murray, where soldiers are building relationships with the locals to secure the area.
Patrol Base Murray was built for counterinsurgency operations. Every day, soldiers conduct missions that involve getting out with the population. This was a hot spot in the Triangle of Death, but Alpha Company 130th Platoon Leader, First Lieutenant Charlie Stab, says Arab Jabur is now one of the most economically flourishing areas.
The businesses are improving quite well. We established a business association that meets up at the local community center. That business association helps all local business owners come together and improve their businesses.
No longer are Patrol Base Murray's troops kicking in doors, but are rapidly working on the process of winning the hearts of the Iraqi people. From MND Center, I'm Specialist Justin Kuhl.
U.S. soldiers are helping Iraqis with many of the reconstruction projects throughout the country. Army Sergeant Kyle Flieger tells us how one unit in Taji is helping locals build for a better tomorrow.
Multinational Division Baghdad soldiers are helping Iraqi kids go to school. Soldiers from the 2nd Stryker Brigade Combat Team, 25th Infantry Division, are overseeing efforts by local sheikhs to rebuild schools into somewhere children will be glad to go. The battalion pay agent for 1st Battalion, 27th Infantry Regiment, Army Staff Sergeant Jesse Okiyama, says it's important that the Iraqis be the ones to lead the efforts.
They have to take ownership. It's their village. You know, we want them to take to have ownership of their village. So, I mean, because their people depend on them.
As for what the kids will think when they come back,
right now school's out, so I'm pretty sure that when Al-Abbas opens up, they'll be they're pretty surprised.
Reporting for the 2nd SBCT, 25th Infantry Division, MNDB, I'm Army Sergeant Kyle Flieger, Taji, Iraq.
That does it for this edition of our program. Check out mnf-iraq.com for all the latest OIF information. From all of us here at AFN and Freedom Journal Iraq, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.